Ta-da!
Hello, everyone.
Hooray.
Welcome back to our new time.
Mondays.
Yep, Mondays.
Around 5:30. Could be later. 5:30 Eastern is what time we're starting today, obviously.
That's where we leave off last time.
So, last time, we had just left Asarudin, Rasha. Rasha had gone to Asarudin and accidentally coup and taken over the city with the help of her friends. She wouldn't have done that on her own. She would have never entered her mind. Just never.
No, probably not.
But, so, Rasha's ruler of a city, and then they set up someone that the party used to know, named Shlomo, as to take care.
That's like your second in command while you're not there, but you are the ruler of Asarudin at this point in time.
At this point I am. And I still set off into the desert on foot to head to the next city.
By herself.
By herself.
Which, has been normal so far.
Mm-hmm.
She's run across things and encountered them
And been alright?
Yep.
Up till now.
Up till now.
Up till now.
Up till now. So in this segment, we will cover Rasha traveling the desert.
Well, there's more than that.
Oh yeah, well, we're going to start there.
Yes.
So it's been 1 year at this point since they've been on the surface of the Red Moon and everything happened.
And they found out about the Illithid coming and
getting prepared for everything like that. So Rasha, like she said, she heads on the road, and
she's heading to the next city,
which she has not been to yet.
But it's called Carnoasis. Carnoasis.
And it's just west and a little north of Asarudin.
As you can see on the map.
Right. She decided not to go there on the way here and went straight there. And
well, since I looked at the map and I was in Aludet, and I figured if I went from Aludet to Carnoasis, then it would just be like a whole backtracking to get to Asarudin. And that didn't seem to make a lot of sense. So, Asarudin, then Carnoasis, then on to the next cities after that.
So you're on the road for some
Just
time.
a couple weeks.
Yeah, by yourself.
A couple weeks out into the desert. And it just so happens I'm going to want you to talk more than me this
That's
session. Sorry, my throat's a little sore.
Oh, now, okay. That it's the night of the red eye again. Again, 1 year has passed. It happens at the same time every year throughout the entirety of the planet. The two moons align, and it creates this eye in the sky, and magic and other weird things happen on that night. So, traveling through the desert, Rasha does not know, nor does she have, the seal of Zarathustra on what is the night is called Armin's Passage. And it's very dangerous to be traveling alone on this night in the desert. She just comes to like a riverbank.
However, it's dangerous for me, not because I don't have a seal of Zarathustra.
Oh, it would have helped.
Maybe. But this is specifically
directed
against me.
It was, yes. It would have helped. But, you didn't know that. And that's okay.
Why would I know that?
Making a check at some point in time. It never happened. It never came up, so it's fine. Like
a check with what knowledge?
I don't know.
Religion?
Gravin's help, something like that.
Religion?
Someone
know how few knowledges Rasha has?
I know, none.
She has
local. I think is the only one.
No, she's local and
nature. I think
maybe geography or something.
No,
not
that
geography.
would make more sense.
Maybe geography.
Yeah, geography would make more sense.
Yeah.
Geography and local would make sense too.
Yeah, it was local also. Yeah.
So you didn't really have the things, and nothing like this had happened in your life before, right? So there was no reason to try to look out for it. You decide to come to the banks, stay at the camp at the banks of a river. You know?
I wasn't camping even. I was just stopping to fill my water.
Right, get some fresh water and move on.
That's all I was doing.
And when I say river, it's not like this giant river. It's like a
little desert river.
Desert tributary, you know, not really an oasis, but there are some plant life and like places where like crocodiles would stop. Funny enough.
I'm just trying to get my water, and I get jumped.
Yep, with the red eye glowing menacingly overhead. And
then there's these, what? I forget, what is the word for, like, ambulatory on 2 feet? That's that word. There's a word that means that. Anyways. Crocodiles that are ambulatory on 2 feet.
Okay, I believe you.
That's what they are.
I trust. So she's having, like, memories of being on the red moon and getting water. And at that time, out of the water springs 4 crocodile men. They have a symbol carved into their chests, and their black and rotting scales seem to be made of darkness itself.
Uh-huh.
So she had to fight these... What they really were crocodile revenants that were assassins. They were called Armin's assassins. They're his...
He's an evil god.
Yes, his
and
avatars.
He sent these specifically to attack me,
Lesser
Rasha,
avatars.
Specifically.
Yes.
Because he doesn't like me.
No.
Does not like me.
No, because the god has heard the desert wind has returned, and...
That's not good for him.
No, it's not. So he's got to get rid of that.
The desert wind is good.
Usually.
Oh, whatever. This desert wind is good.
So you fight these guys.
I do like 1 round with them.
Yeah.
And
they hit you a few times.
They hit me, and one of those hits is really bad.
Poisonous even.
And I'm very poisoned. And so I run away. At top speed because they can't catch me.
Yeah, that's her best bet, and she succeeded. They failed at their attacks. But these things were obviously sent to kill her.
Alright, so once I get what I deem a sort of safe enough distance away. Also, Rasha is a scout and knows how to travel. So there's this little thing on her sheet called trackless step. So they can't track her.
Mm-hmm.
Especially not in the desert.
Which is good, because, you know, they would have tracked her down. Because you did run, like, quite a ways and hide behind a bank and, like, cover yourself, right?
Yeah. I was about to get there.
Sorry, I'm just, like, I'm remembering.
Yeah. So at this point, I can tell. I can feel that there is something very wrong with me, that this wound is not just a gash or anything like that. And at this point, I hadn't picked up any sort of potions or anything, and I was running around in the desert by myself. Not the best idea, but, you know. So, Rasha pulls out her cell stone. No, sorry. Her stone of sending cell phone thing that goes to Gravin, and so she sends him a message. It starts out, I need help. I got attacked. I have a bad wound. I'm in the desert.
Might be dying. And then it, like, garbles off the last, you know, of the 25 words, garbles off into, like, her trying to describe where she is. Right.
Because...
where she is in a specific... I mean...
It's in spot... And anyway, she's trying to... Anyway.
She's literally in the middle of the desert.
Gravin messages her back and says, I'm in the middle of something right now. It'll be... Thankfully, only a few hours, because it's the night of the red moon. He's doing something important. Right?
Yes, he is.
He's doing something important. So, Rasha hunkers down and camouflages herself and waits until he gets there.
And you make the saving throws to survive that long.
Yes.
Now, Rasha did not know what these creatures were, didn't know that they were sent after her. They just appeared from the river. Mm-hmm. Under what the night of the red moon in Rumadan is called Armin's Passage. It's like his night, right? It's kind of like a really evil version of Passover.
Ugh.
Yeah. And Gravin finally arrives. Hours later, Rasha's out.
Thankfully, he can just scry on her and see where she is and then teleport there immediately. Otherwise, she would have been SOL.
Yeah.
Out of luck.
Hooray for casters.
Hooray for casters. Hooray for Rasha. So many months ago in game time being, how will I ever get in touch with any of you? And Gravin's like, oh, okay, here.
Totally saved your life.
Have this essentially a cell phone where you can send only me, one text per day.
Completely saved your life.
It's just funny because, like, sometimes even if I didn't, like, have, like, an actual anything to, like, ask for his help or anything, I just sort of say, oh yeah, like, each of these days, Rasha just randomly sends Gravin an update on what she's doing just because she can. She doesn't expect to respond. She's just like, did this today.
Hi, friend. Blah, blah, blah. That's good. That's how friends, like, stay in contact, you know? Like,
oh, my mom says, it's so nice having you in the room. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Gravin saves you.
So he heals me, and I describe what attacked me, you know, the were crocodiles and what they looked like, and the symbol that was in them.
Glowing red.
He recognized the symbol as the symbol of Armin, and like Rasha had heard of Armin. She obviously knows who Armin is, and he's an evil god, and so at that point she sort of gathers that, okay, this probably was a direct attack and not a random attack, like directed specifically at her. And she's like, oh, thanks, Gravin. Thanks for the help. He's like, okay. He's like, where do you want to go? Where are you headed next? And she's like, oh, I'm headed here, you know, to Karn Oasis. And he says, okay. And he teleports them, you know, to Karn. How does he know how to get there?
He has access to something that knows the entirety of the world.
Since when?
Since Farida came online, which was the orb which had that information anyway.
Since what came online?
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a golem being that was a little orb that now is like his daughter that lives, and that's actually what he was doing earlier. I believe was
all right,
making her exist. That's a whole story arc up to this point for other characters, but that's how he knows.
Anyways, so is the word you're looking for humanoid?
Yeah, sort of. It's a construct.
No. Before the word I was looking for before.
Oh. I'm sorry.
That is a word that applies, but it's not the specific word I was looking for. I'll look it up at some point. So.
At some point.
And I'll just probably like post on Facebook, be like, it's this word. This is the word I was looking for. All right. Oh yeah. So we were in Esarudin, and then what do I hit? This.
That. Yep. And just. Oh nope. I guess the number.
This.
Yep. Karn Oasis.
Karn Oasis.
Boom.
Karn Oasis is.
Yeah.
Amazing.
At this beautiful place.
It's gorgeous.
The picture I found.
If you can see,
like,
again, it's not anything that we own. It's a picture
was it what I
that
imagined? I was
found,
like, this is amazing.
but it's really a perfect picture.
I couldn't do this much art or this well if I tried, so I'm
Karn Oasis is a chaotic good city, which is absolutely wonderful. Like, as much as like Rasha loves her home of Riyadh, she just walks in and feels at home like right away, just immediately.
People are friendly here.
People are friendly. There's no taxes.
Yeah, Gravin liked it for that reason.
So we come into the city.
And Gravin joins you on this one.
And Gravin is like, oh, I have a little bit of time. And so he comes into the city with me, and we go into the market, and, you know, we're just looking around at some different stalls, and we meet
an old lady
named Janice, who, was she running a stall, or
no?
She was just kind of hanging out, and she gave us tea and baklava.
Yeah.
And Janice is amazing.
Her
Oh no, Gravin set up a little... This is the thing.
Graven
Okay, so Graven set up a little shop because there were just spaces where you could just do that. And he had some things to sell.
And he was talking to different shop owners and getting things from them and, like, inquiring, like, oh, how much is taxes? Like, taxes? We don't pay taxes. And he was like, what? How do you set up a shop? Just go over there and start selling.
So he did. He's like, oh, well, all right then.
Because, it's a completely free market here.
But yeah, he meets this little old lady named Janice, who, as it turns out, is actually much older than she appears. Janice is like the original inhabitant of Carn Oasis, apparently.
One of the,
and she's actually king-blooded, which is a thing in Jason's game that means what?
So they're humans that live like 3 times as long as a normal human's lifespan. So she wouldn't have been one of the original people here, but she's like one of the eldest people here, seen many different rulers and priestesses and people come and go, and she's kind of like the grandmother of the city.
The whole city.
Right.
And
everybody knows Janice.
Delicious tea and baklava. But she came, and she said that she decided that she wanted to be an adventurer and go on, like, an adventure before, before her
final days.
Before her final days.
And she knew they were coming soon, but didn't know when, so she meets these two, and like, oh, well, I could go with you.
And buys some things from Graven.
Yep.
And she does actually end up going with Graven, which is absolutely fantastic.
That's later.
That's later. But so Rasha has to speak to the ruler of the city, so she heads towards, I guess, sort of the big center area there.
Palace in the center of the city.
And so the first person, and so I guess what she tells them, whoever is at the gate or whatever, her name, which is Rasha Sharav, so she literally just told them that she is the Desert Wind, and she wants to talk to the Sultan. But the first person that comes to talk to her,
actually, when you approach the palace, it's like different devotees. So, sorry, Carn Oasis is a city of Miliana, the Ameshis Ventas of the Eternal Flame. Also, chaotic good, and she's the phoenix that rises again, right?
Which Avital absolutely loves.
And her fire burns. There's
an eternal flame, like in her temple, or in front of her temple, or whatever.
And the temple is like right next to, pseudo attached to the palace. So the first place that Rasha approaches is that temple, and there are devotees there, and they recognize the sword.
Yeah. I think the first one I talked to was a priestess, like a more lesser priestess called Alexandria, who recognized the sword, and then went to fetch the high priestess to talk to me.
And there was also a minor official of the Sultan there, that's right.
The minor official of the Sultan we met in the market. He bought stuff from Graven.
That's right. That's how
the Sultan.
You guys got to the. He's like, oh, we're gonna go there. Let's go there.
And he's the one that took us.
I mean, the place is just so inviting, right? Like anybody could walk in and do whatever, if they didn't ask questions, and they don't generally ask questions.
Yep. So the Ali leads us to the temple, and then the priestess Alexandria leads us to meet the high priestess. What's her name? Shemsa.
Shemsa Haruti.
Shemsa. And so the high priestess Shemsa meets Rasha, sees the sword, knows full well that this is the Desert Wind sword.
Right.
But she says that Rasha has to prove to her, to Shemsa, that she is the Desert Wind before she can see the Sultan. And Rasha's just like, I'm not entirely certain what that means. Exactly. She's like, okay. So it was 3 tests in 3 days. And the first test is to walk across 30 feet of water without magic.
Which I believe you did that day, right?
Yeah. So, Shemsa took Rasha, and so at this point, like, this has garnered attention.
Mm-hmm.
So, at this point for this first test, there's not
It
like
wasn't
a ton
as big.
of people.
No, not really. It was just
the second
like
one was
the
the big
priests
one.
and some other attendants of the Sultan's
Right,
court,
but there
like
was a
minor
few people,
attendants.
and then a couple people like
grabbing.
in the palace because they came into, they went into like there's a pool in the palace, and then somewhere in the middle, or the, and Shemsa says, walk across, and Rasha does this. Okay, and she walks across the water, because Rasha has mythic levels.
Yep. Mythic tiers.
What level are we at this point? 15?
Maybe 15.
Maybe 15. Anyways,
Maybe
but she's got
16.
at least one or maybe even two mythic levels.
You've got
at
like
this point.
3 at this
Three
point.
at this point.
Yeah.
3 mythic levels. So, which
3 mythic
are
tiers.
just, you have really super cool things that you can do if you don't know anything about.
Spend a mythic power, stuff happens. Some of the things are just like they're always on.
But
They
this
always
is
work.
a
And this
mythic
is,
path ability that allows her to walk across any surface. Like, she can walk across water. She can
acid, ice,
tiptoe, on top of snow.
spikes,
Legolas.
spike pits.
Um,
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as she doesn't
she can't
stop.
stop.
Right.
Right. She can't stop. Like, she'll still sink into the water. Like, if she stopped walking, she would just slowly, gravity, normal gravity of just whoosh, into the water.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a stitch. And my throat still hurts. But, so she walks across, and the priestess,
It's like, very good.
and then you can stay here.
Yep. And tomorrow we will commence the second test.
Mm-hmm. The second test.
So the guys stayed in the palace,
It
and
was super nice.
yeah,
The city is super cool. Like,
you guys go back out into the city,
we look around
a
some
little bit
more. It's
tomorrow.
such a fun city.
and more people start noticing you
Mm-hmm. And they pay attention.
and asking you. And Janice talks to them and talks about
Janice
you 'cause
knows
she was
everyone, so
also there.
Janice was also there, yeah. And she knows pretty much everybody in the city, so word is starting to get out through
So
the
the
city.
rumor of the desert wind is beginning to pass in Carnoasis.
Uh-huh. And it is still just funny, because through this whole thing, Rasha's just kind of, okay. Sure. So, day 2. She goes back to, see the priestess. I'm not like, and Shemsa says that you must defeat the Sultan's fastest steed in a race, or like a sprint type of race. It's not like a marathoner, although Rasha could probably do that too. But so the thing for this, the mechanics of this were opposed, strength and dex checks. And the thing of it was that because our base speed, can you turn up the voice volume, please? Asher said.
What's that out in your program?
It's all the way up. We may just need to talk louder.
Try that. It won't go higher than that.
Okay. We'll try and talk louder. Right. So if you know anything about D&D type of character sheets, you have like a base speed, right, of feet. That's how many feet you can move in and around. Rasha and the horse's base speed was the same. So we had to make rolls. I also had to use mythic power to boost my rolls. And it was very close. It was very close. But I did end up beating the Sultan's fastest horse.
So,
And there was so many people watching.
even the Sultan. So as it started, she goes to the stables, and the Sultan's fastest horse is brought out by her. And up in a little balcony looking down is the Sultan, who's like waving at people, and a lot of folks come back here to the little, it's not really a track, but like his stables that he has.
And so for the Sultan, imagine like kind of like the Sultan from Aladdin, but if he was like a large black man.
Yeah.
Because he was played by our friend Carrie, who was kind of playing it that way, and we're like, this is absolutely perfect.
Yes.
This is him. This is the Sultan. This is Jamal Narayan.
Yep. He's jovial. He's very kind. He's a little flamboyant. And great, and totally great. Not to mention things about Carnowasis is like known for its art. It's a free city. It has gambling, right?
Sure.
It's
There
majestic.
was definitely gambling on this race.
Yes, there were. Many people were gambling on the race. And it's a prosperous city.
Asher says, I'm in a kitchen with fridges and I have a Bluetooth speaker on max. It's better now. Okay, good.
Oh, that's, well, I don't want to be blowing other people out of water, though.
I think Mom will tell us if we're blowing
Okay.
out. I don't think we are.
Okay. For this, the Sultan's standing on the balcony and, like, watching the race. When he's done, he just sort of, he waves to everyone and begins the race, and they go, and then Rasha beats the horse. And he's like, and claps and, like, waves to the crowd, and, like, money exchanges hands. So he said people were gambling, and Gravin even got onto some gambling, I think.
Yeah, Gravin gambled a little bit, and
pretty sure Janice gambled a lot.
Janice
I think
gambled.
she was the one running.
Yeah, she was probably running all the bets. The official Ali of the Sultan.
Yeah.
He definitely gambled on Rasha.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, come on, please. He's like, this seems pretty good so far. Okay, come on. So
And so Rasha
it's fine, good. Beat the horse.
And the priestess seems satisfied. Just looks at the Sultan, who's just waving, and the Sultan goes back in, and the priest is like, tomorrow we will commence your final test.
Final test. So have you spend the rest of the day there in Carnowasis. Day 3, third test. So this one is slightly different in tenor, because when Rasha goes to meet the priestess, she leads her somewhere where there are not a whole bunch of people. There's not a ton of people watching. She leads her to a small room inside the palace.
The temple, actually.
Inside the temple. And the Sultan is there.
I mean, they're connected. But...
Right. The Sultan is there.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a multitude of candles, lit candles, just sitting there on the floor.
What I didn't say and I meant to say is in a pattern of a phoenix.
Well, you didn't say that. You didn't say that at the time.
I know. I totally forgot that's what it was supposed to be.
That's lovely. Oh. So she brings Rasha to this room and says, you must put out the flames on all of these candles.
Blow out Miliana's flame with a slice of your blade. And it was
I don't think you even said a slice of your blade. Oh,
yeah,
is it?
I did.
And see, this is the point where Avital got upset with Jason and was like, what are you talking? I don't know. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that because Jason hadn't told me that he had added things to my sheet that I could do with the sword. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know?
Players look at their sheets for things to see what they can do. I don't know.
How was I supposed to randomly know? Because, I am on the main sheet of my character almost all the time.
Uh-huh.
And that's, on, the 4th or 5th page.
3rd.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not on the main sheet. I had no idea that I could do multiple things. So, yeah.
Many things.
Many things. One of the things is that...
It was a thing I was hoping that she would discover that she could do, but instead backfired on me.
Yes, I was upset.
I'm like,
I got upset because I get upset easily.
Didn't... Yeah.
And, but there's something you do with the sword, which functions the same as Gust of Wind. You literally just slice the sword and you send out a gust of wind. And so Rasha,
she was testing you to see how far you would come along in your skills with the Desert Wind, and
Right.
not knowing that Azita Haka had trained you
yes,
already.
Obviously the not knowing what to do-ness was out of character because as a character in a game like this, abilities like this, you just sort of innately know that you can do
When
them.
you earn them, you have
You're
the thing.
aware. You're like, oh yes, okay, yes, I can do this. Like if you suddenly gain some magical ability for a random reason, you know how to use that. It's not like, I mean, if you're like a magic user that like learns by studying, then yeah, that's how you learn. But if you just have innate abilities of some
Pick
sort,
up a sword and someone tells me how it works and I know how it works.
you know how to do it. Like you know how to use it, right? So Rasha puts out the candles with a slice of her sword.
All of them. And the Sultan and the High Priestess look at each other and just nod. And the Sultan, I was again played by Carrie. It's like, you wish to speak with me. Desert Wind.
Yeah. And then Rasha tells the both of them about the coming threat, about the Illithid coming, the Illithid invasion. All that she knows, you know.
Gravin was there too.
Yes, and Gravin was there too.
And he was able to tell him all that he knows also.
Right, well, wasn't it in the book anyways?
Yeah, but, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
At the time. Yeah.
Right, and then, you know, every city that she's gone to, Rasha's like, please call your scribes in and make a copy of this book while I wait.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have my book,
Mm-hmm.
but you can make a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
My mom says the sword and wind reminds me of the celestial dragon Terror?
Ah.
What's that from?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll look it up though. That sounds cool.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You give your tale. Gravin is there to corroborate her tale. Janice was welcome as well.
Because she's Janice.
As were the lesser priestess of Miliana and
Alexandria.
Yep, and Ali, a minor official, who both of them became slightly higher ranked after this experience.
Good for them.
The Sultan, I believe, thanked you.
Excuse me.
I think he offered to shower you with gifts. Like, do you need anything? But you had pretty much anything you needed.
Yeah, Rasha's never someone that was looking for riches or anything like that. She just wanted to... Did you read this novels? I don't know which novels you're talking about, Mom.
And after that, you were kind of deciding exactly where you should go next.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't really a decision.
Oh, that's true. That's right. You had already been to Bahadina.
Mm-hmm.
So once you've delivered your message to the Sultan of Carnoasis, and you had been recognized as the Desert Wind by the High Priestess of Miliana, who had stated you always have a home here, or a place to come here. Always welcome.
I mean, it pretty much, even though she didn't get to go back there very much, she did at least once. I mean, it was definitely felt like a second home to her. It was very much just immediately at home, and this city is lovely, absolutely lovely city.
This also, unbeknownst to Rasha, began her journey of recognition from the gods of Rumidan.
Surprise! Temeraire? Oh! I only read the first novel so far. I actually have the first three, like, on my shelf over there, but I haven't... His Majesty's Dragon. Super good book.
Cool.
I haven't read the next two yet, but I have them.
Right
I
on.
will get to them eventually. So I don't think I have heard about the Celestial Dragon yet. Because I only read the first one. But... So...
After finishing your tenure in Carnoasis and having a lovely time.
It was absolutely lovely.
Unlike maybe some other places other than Riyadh, Not that Aludet was bad. Aludet was fine.
Aludet
It was just kind
fine.
of a place.
This place, they were all right.
Carn Oasis was like...
lovely and welcoming and just absolutely amazing, honestly. Just so good.
And for literally forever after this, many of the other characters wanted to try to get to Carn Oasis at some point.
Almost none of them. I don't think any of them ever really did.
No, it never
happened.
Very
sad. Very sad. So at this point, as you can see on the map, if we're at Carn Oasis, the net going counterclockwise sort of around Rumadon, the next one would be Badina. However, Rasha knew that the leader there and the leader of the tower, who was the leader of the tower there, he was the one that had been involved in the whole ordeal with sending Shane Draylock to the Red Moon. So she knew that he knew about the Illithid. Knew all the information that they already knew. He
even selected you to... He was one of the ones that asked you to go, right?
Maybe. I don't remember. So Graven says, I can drop you off at your next place, but then I gotta go. She's like, that's fine. She's like, I actually need... next I need to go to Bagra.
Never been to Bagra. Wonder what it's like.
So, as you can see on the map, that is a lot of traveling. Thank goodness.
That would have taken months.
That we skipped out on. Like, oh, that is so much traveling on foot.
Yeah, there were encounters with the Hashin in the desert that she skipped. There were desert like creatures
all
that she totally skipped.
Encounter.
Many things that just went whoop.
So suddenly, just ta-da, you're good. So, she gets to Bagra. Oh, we have a map, but...
Do we?
I mean, you drew like a smaller map for Bagra. Anyways, but I'll just pull this up. So, Bagra...
Oh, that's right, I did.
That's fine. Bagra is neutral, evil city. It's also a port city.
It's also where Draylock used to rule from.
Yes, he used to rule there.
Rasha did know that.
She knew that. So she was...
Where the Efreet armies were sort of coming from?
She was not just walking into this city...
blind.
She knew that there could possibly be danger here. So she was being careful. She goes into the city and... just kind of starts looking around. Doesn't go directly to...
You're very cautious.
Anywhere. Very cautious.
Very cautious.
So, she is looking around near the docks, just kind of checking things out when suddenly this thing appears. Yes.
That's not what happened first.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No.
So, okay. So, a very shady looking priest of Armin approaches her and says to follow him to the temple, and she's like, I don't think so. And that's when she goes down to the docks, and that's when...
No, there's a whole other bunch of stuff that happened.
Not that Rasha knew about. What do you...
Yeah, because you, went to the temple, had a conversation. You didn't actually go inside.
Yeah, but I went to the docks and met the weird galaxy-looking thing first. Yes. Because directly after I went to the temple, we boofed out.
But, okay.
Yeah, I met Madan, and then I was like, okay, I do actually have to tell these people about what's happening before I can go with you.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that quick, but...
I mean, quick. There was a lot of things happening that Rasha knew nothing about. All of that, the length of that playtime was because of everyone else that was playing the NPCs.
I thought you also did some, like, checked out the city more. But
I mean, yeah, but nothing happened. Like, I looked around the city, but nothing happened really until I went to the docks.
So, because I also thought at the docks you noticed the golden-eyed slavers.
Not really. I don't know. I mean, sure, but I didn't know.
Oh, they'd have been there.
I'm like, yep, there's slavers.
Yeah, you check out the city for some time, like, for a little time. Yeah, right. All right, so...
Yep, yes, it's slavery.
Yeah, there was, like, more of an exchange at the temple. It was
That's
like a
after I
cat-and-mouse.
meet the guy.
The last thing you do is meet Madan.
No, I met Madan, and then I said I can't go help you until I actually go talk. Yes, babe, yes.
It's been a while. Right. Actually, Madan is not a guy or a lady.
Yes, I know that.
I'm not. That's not for you. It's just a being that seems to be made of stars.
Yeah, so...
And celestial bodies and everything inside of it with the void of space.
A humanoid-shaped sort of patch of galaxies approaches Rasha while she's in this weird city.
And
she's just like,
What? Asks her to come to Muad'Dina with it. That she requires the aid of the desert wind. Or it requires the aid of the desert wind.
It tells her... Doesn't it tell her that it is a
face of the one true God?
Of the one true God.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs her help in...
Freeing another face from Muad'Dina.
A different face of the one true God.
From the Black Temple.
From the Black Temple.
And yeah, that's right. Then you're like, that sounds great. I can't do it just yet.
Yeah. She's like, I do actually have to talk to these people first. So that's when Rasha heads to the Temple of Armin.
And Madan kind of phases out of existence.
Yeah.
Just as it appeared.
Uh-huh. So Rasha makes her way to the temple and stands out in front of it, and the high priest comes out and, greets her, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you rule this city? You lead this city? He's like, yeah. She's like, okay. She's like, I have something I need to tell you. He's like, oh, very well, please. Come in. And she says, no. I'm not going inside there. She's like, I can tell you right here. He's like, all right.
Which is a good plan because inside, literally
there was how many? 5, 6?
7.
7 evil NPCs that were being played by our players.
Other players.
And it was just really funny to listen to them.
And they had been like...
Because they had been informed that suddenly the desert wind was here, and they're like, where did she come from?
Oh, crap.
Why? How is she here? How did she get here? We didn't know she was coming. We didn't see her coming. Thank you, Greven.
Wait, maybe this is serendipity. Maybe we can get rid of her right now.
And so they were literally
because they're having an evil meeting, an evil conference of evil.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
They're like all slavers and all, yeah.
So they were...
And the desert would have been messing up their stuff from...
Right,
As had your friends.
Yeah.
So they're having a whole conference about that.
Mm-hmm.
And you show up. And they're like, delivered
okay.
on our doorstep.
They're like, oh, she's coming here, okay. No, so they were hiding in the temple, and some of them went out and were hiding in streets around the temple. They were all gonna
setting a trap, watching they were gonna spring on her. And Rasha didn't know this, right?
Right, but she was still being wary and careful. So she says, I'm not going inside. I'll just tell you right here. And the high priest is like, all right. And so she literally says maybe a couple words about the invasion. He's like, the Illithid? He's like, yeah, I know. She's like, okay, bye. Turns around and walks away. The being, Madan...
And they're all like, dang it!
Appears again. And he says, are you ready? And she says, absolutely, let's go. And they both poof out of there. So she, appears without them knowing, and then just suddenly disappears. So they're all just like, oh.
They're great and powerful beings helping the desert wind get around. They're like, son of a... So close. So close.
Really was, because there was the blue dragon.
Lorzathan.
That runs the Hashin, which is
Yes.
like the slaving.
Who was who
The
actually was
slavery.
shape changed into like a sort of a rogue like guy. So the person who like pretends to be is a minotaur. Pretends to be the head. A lot of times.
Oh.
But Lorzathan was there, just pretending to be his backup.
Right.
Putting him in the danger spot.
There was
Lachesis and Kevaris.
Aren't they aliens?
Yeah.
There's aliens.
I mean, yeah.
And then
dimensionally traveling beings with golden eyes that turn into weird creatures that aren't really people.
Also,
But they always have golden eyes.
this is great. So while they're having their evil meeting of evil, in walks what looks and definitely very much appears to be Shane Draylock.
100% comes back.
You know, the ruler who Rasha and Purdy had imprisoned on the Red Moon. He says, "I'm back," and they're all really surprised.
You're back?
He's like, "Yep." And
yeah, business as usual. Continue as planned. Everything is fine. Don't pay attention to me.
And he was actually a space cop.
Yep, a doppelganger.
A doppelganger.
A greater doppelganger.
Who was actually...
They're trying to get Lachesis and
the golden-eyed
Kevaris, the
ones.
golden-eyed beings, because they're tied to another organization called the Tal'Rai Scath, which is
Space baddies.
Yeah, basically. Interdimensional, space, all kind of like in the same, you know? Which is why Bagra is a completely evil city, because they're literally slaving across dimensions.
Yeah, it's awful.
Buying and selling. There are... What you did notice here were like blue-skinned people, right? Remember that? Like traders and stuff?
Vaguely, yes.
Which are Mercane, which are these blue-skinned humanoids that are from the plains. And there's other places in the planets of Naboria and things out in space there too. But yeah, they're like traders. They're not evil or good. They're just merchants, like interdimensional merchants. But this place also had like other creatures you didn't recognize walking around, like dusky-skinned humanoids.
Like,
and
at this point, Rasha had seen in her life many things that she hadn't before, right? But there were still beings here that she had just never encountered the like of at all.
Yep.
At all. And she's just...
And that's because this place had become a beacon of planar problem people.
The 3 Ps. Planar problem people.
So it's potentially... Catalima City may beat it, but, like, for what was happening, it was potentially the hotbed for a lot of Illithid interaction. Because when the High Priest was like, yep, we know, that's because they were already dealing with the Illithid through the Tal'Rai Scath.
Right, they knew the Illithid were coming.
Right.
And they were on their side.
Yes, they were. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we know. I mean,
and even though, so this tells you the kind of character Rasha is. Like, this is her good part manifesting. This is an awful city. Like, she can tell that. She knows that. Like,
it's also an ancient city.
But she still
there are ruins
knows her duty.
They're haunted.
I never went to see those. Someone else did, but not me. This is her duty to inform everyone about the Illithid coming. So she says, okay, I'm still going to do this even though I know it's dangerous.
You made it out alive. You had some help.
I might not have.
No.
If not for...
intuition.
And godly influence.
Yep.
Yay, godly influence.
Because had Manon not been there, they were going to still jump you anyway.
Uh-huh. I mean, I would have been, like, trying to move as fast as possible, but they had some pretty interesting abilities themselves, so who knows what would have happened.
Exactly. When a super powerful Aeon shows up, and it's like, hey, you ready to go? They're like, whoa, wait a minute.
And they were like, whoa, wait.
So they just didn't do anything. They just watched. And then she left. And then they went back to plotting.
They're like,
And
fine.
Madan and Rasha arrive in Muad'Dina. That's pretty much...
To do a thing.
To do a thing. To set free one of the faces of the one true God.
It's a big thing.
It is.
However, at this point, Rasha knows that she has finished her
duty.
Her duty. She has informed everyone, or at least, everyone that didn't know, or she thought didn't know, about the Illithid invasion. So she's technically free to do whatever she wants at this point, regardless of, what she can do whatever she wants at this point. So it was great. We started out in Esarudin, traveled a little bit, hopped to Karn Oasis, hopped all the way over to Bagra, didn't die.
In like a couple places.
Right, you're right. We didn't die over here, between Esarudin and Karn Oasis. There was no chains of death in Karn Oasis.
No.
And then we didn't die in Bagra.
Just lucky. Also, Gravin didn't...
Very lucky.
He had to go back.
Right, no, Gravin dropped her off at...
Yeah,
we said that.
Yeah.
Gravin dropped her off at, sort of the front of Bagra, which is why they were so surprised that she was there. And then she gets popped back down to Modena again.
Very many places all in a very short span of time.
Which, I mean, at this point, Rasha's gotten more used to. Because she's met all these people and has magical friends now. Ash. Yes, it's called Esarudin. You're very mature.
Don't worry, most of the players were too.
But yeah, there's a lot of things in even, this is just one part of a session.
Yeah, other people were doing...
When we game all weekend.
Yeah,
or
basically
not so much it's a little bit different now, obviously.
This is when we could still get together in person.
And we would have a bunch of people come over to the house and hang out, and we'd do food, and we'd game all weekend. It was lovely. It was absolutely lovely.
It's a weekend spent with friends. That's the best part of gaming.
It is. That's spending time with friends.
Mm-hmm. So, you were in Modena, and that seems like a decent place. Yeah, I do miss everyone to end for this one.
Yes, it does. It does.
So Modena will take some time.
So Modena will take some time. We'll probably spend all the next time talking about what happens there.
Yep.
It's still just as funny with Bagra and everyone being there, and then Rasha just appearing, and they're like, oh, she's here. And then she just leaves again.
Red alert.
And they're like, oh.
Back to... weird.
Oh, okay. All right, then.
So, in the game, there's always this amount of, worlds crossing, right? Paths crossing, and this idea of destiny and, stories weaving in and out of each other. Which is why Rasha can go do all this on her own, and many other characters are doing completely other things in these same sessions, and other people get to play other NPCs involved with them, and it all goes to telling this overarching story of characters who aren't always 100% around each other.
Right. I mean, at this point, Jason had been running... At this point, this was in 2019, Jason had been running this game for 13 years.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the original characters...
Or 12, 13, whatever.
Only a couple of the original characters were still, active.
So there is... At this point, an entire world
for them to interact with and do things in, and each of them are connected to different parts of it, and so they sometimes cross paths, they sometimes don't, and they have entire stories so that when they meet again in character, there are things to talk about and tell each other about. It's oh, by the way, this happened here, and they get a sense that the world is a moving, living, breathing place that has its own life and vibrancy and story and cultures and.
This is how run differently than maybe, some, we have a session and we're a party and we're doing this thing.
Yeah.
He maybe started out like that more,
yeah.
But at this point it kind of just evolved into, again, as we said, telling this whole story, this whole entire world.
It went from one party to 2 parties to 3 parties to 5 parties
to
and
just a world full of characters that interact when they can or when they happen to.
Or or when it just sometimes randomly happens.
Sometimes it randomly happens,
hey,
like
man,
in Esarudin.
Let's coup a coup. Hey guys, let's all converge. We're all doing nothing right now. And
this happens to be a good point in the timeline. How can we
work all the characters in?
Because we want to do that sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point of it. Like,
we want to be able to interact with each other in character, but it's not always
feasible. Because, like, it is... if someone's doing something over here at this point in time, another person's at the same time doing something else, well, then they're not, like, you're already busy doing a thing, so you can't go do another thing, right? Because you don't exist in two places at once. Unless you have simulacra. Then that's a different story. But normally, that doesn't happen. So you have to really, like, if something is going on, like, each character, no one's doing anything, yeah, you guys can all get a hold of each other and do something right now. And that's when it becomes fun, is those unplanned moments of when the characters be together and story is told and they really shape the way the world goes forward or a region of the world, what happens there. Like, it becomes really fun because the players really get to drive what's going on in the story and have agency within this world.
Mm-hmm. What's this? If you're talking about the map, this is the map that Jason made for his game. Mm-hmm. This is the world that his role-playing game ran in.
This is Naboria.
We usually say Naboria, the players.
I use accents.
Yeah, I mean, you are the game master.
Yeah. And I did study them.
Yes. Indeed. But, I
think that's all for today.
That's a good, like we said, that's a good place to stop for today.
Yeah, you're right.
I was right. I'm very smart.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, obviously we have moved from Tuesday to Monday.
Yes.
He has class on Tuesday, so it's actually be better for him if we do it on Mondays. It'll probably be around 5:30 something. Crafty time is still on Thursdays. I am going to be streaming tomorrow evening because I haven't played West of Loathing in a while and I want to play it. So probably around the same time, around 5:30, I'm going to be playing West of Loathing tomorrow.
Cool.
Eastern.
I'll be in class.
I know. That's why I'm playing a game by myself. Mm-hmm.
Okay, everyone.
But yeah.
Have a very good day. It was a pleasure speaking with you all, those who came. And we will see you next time.
Mm-hmm. It has been lovely. We appreciate you being here. And we'll see you next time. Hopefully.
Goodbye.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z. No. It was nice being able to hear you and follow the conversation. Yes. I'm glad you could hang out with us, Mom.
Yep.
Love you. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.